Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Gaurachandraya. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Bhakyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapata Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangcha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaghan Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhana Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhai Degirim Yat Kripa Tamaha Mande Shegurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Daivim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhirayet Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Pranamya Sri Gurum Bhuyam Sri Krishnam Karunarnavam Lokanatam Jagat Chakshu Sri Shukam Tamupashraye. Hare Krishna. I guess the first time I'm giving class in this calendar year of the Gregorian calendar. So I'll be reading from Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam, canto number 10, chapter number 88, verses 3 and 4. The chapter is entitled Lord Shiva Saved from Vrikasura. So we have verse number 3 on the board, which doesn't have a purport. So I suggest that I'll just read through it and you don't have to repeat. And 4th we will read and then you can repeat. Sri Shuka Uvacha Shiva Shakti Yutasya Shvat Trilingo Guna Samvritaha Vaikarikas Taijasascha Tasmaschetyaham Tridha. Tamasaschetyaham Tridha. Translation: Sri Shukadeva said, Lord Shiva is always united with his personal energy, the material nature, manifesting himself in 3 features in response to the entreaties of nature's 3 modes. He thus embodies the threefold principle of material ego in goodness, passion, and ignorance. So we'll go to verse number 4, which will be on the board. We can read after that. I think it's easier for me to read from here than the book. tato vikara abhavan shodashamishu kanchana. It doesn't have the diacritics. It's not a perfect word. Upadhavan vibhutinam sarvasam ashnute gatim tato vikara abhavan shodasham ishu kanchana. Upadhavan vibhutinam sarvasam ashnute gatim tato vikara abhavan shodasham ishu kanchana. Upadhavan vibhutinam sarvasam ashnute gatim. Vaishnavis mothers. Okay. Word by word meaning, translation, and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada's disciples. Srila Prabhupada Bhakta Vrinda ki. If Prabhupada says that Krishna personally dictated them, then Prabhupada's disciples can say that Prabhupada personally dictated them. Tataha, from that, which means false ego. Vikaraha, transformations. Abhavan, have manifested. Shodasha, 16. Amishu, among these. Kanchana, any. Upadhavan, pursuing. Vibhutinam, of material assets. Sarvasam, all. Ashnute, enjoys. Gatim, the acquisition. Please repeat after me the translation. The 16 elements have evolved as transformations of that false ego. When a devotee of Lord Shiva worships his manifestation in any one of these elements, the devotee obtains all sorts of corresponding enjoyable opulences. Very tempting, na? Purport, please listen to these transcendental ecstasies of Srila Prabhupada's disciples and followers. False ego transforms into the mind, 10 senses, the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, hands, feet, voice, genitals, and anus, and 5 physical elements, earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Lord Shiva appears in a special linga form in each of these 16 substances, which are worshipped individually as deities in various sacred locations of the universe. A devotee of Shiva may worship one of his particular lingas to obtain the mystic opulences pertaining to it. Thus, Lord Shiva's Akasha Linga bestows the opulences of ether. His Jyotirlinga bestows the opulences of fire, and so on. Srila Prabhupada Bhakta Vrinda ki. The Srimad Bhagavatam begins, probably the second verse, not really begins. At the beginning, Even before the name Krishna comes, the word Shiva comes. Did anyone notice? It's Vedyam Vastavam Atra Vastu Shivadam Tapatrayon Mulanam. So, Nimnaganam Yatho Ganga Devanam Achito Yada Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu Purananam Idam Tadam. Among the Vaishnavas, the foremost of them is Lord Shiva. Shivam means auspicious, one who provides welfare, especially for mankind. Vedyam Vastavam Atra Vastu Shivadam. Shivadam means that which grants welfare. And Lord Shiva also grants welfare, the ultimate welfare. Like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 6, verse number 40, I think, Nahi kalyanakrit kashchit durgatim tadagashati. One who does good is never overcome by evil. One who does a good activity is never overcome by anything that is evil. However, the question arises here about Lord Shiva, which we will get into gradually. Shivadam means one who, Srimad Bhagavatam is Shivadam, it grants the ultimate welfare. Shiva is also one who is not only is he auspicious, but he also grants auspiciousness. One of the symptoms of bhakti is Shubhada, that which grants auspiciousness. And because he is a topmost Vaishnava, the topmost devotee, therefore Lord Shiva can also offer auspiciousness. Whatever he offers is auspiciousness. Even if he cuts off the head of somebody and replaces it with a goat head, that is also auspicious for him. Because he rid him of all the contamination that was there with Daksha Prajapati. And offending the Lord and his devotee, and the devotee's devotee, Tasmat Parataram Devi Tadiyanam Samarchanam. Mad Bhakta Puja Abhyadika, the Lord says. Greater than me is the worship of my devotee. So Lord Shiva himself says, he is the foremost devotee of Lord Krishna. And what does he tell his wife? Aradhananam Sarvesham Vishnur Aradhanam Param. The foremost worship is that of Lord Vishnu. Tasmat Parataram, beyond that is worship of his devotees. And the foremost of his devotees is Lord Shiva. Of course, he doesn't say you worship me. What he says is essentially that he doesn't consider himself a devotee. In fact, many people say, one of the names of Lord Shiva is Sundara. This is very beautiful. If you go to Madurai in South India, the deities are called Meenakshi Sundareshwara. Sundara. He is beautiful. He is so beautiful, but he is a Vaishnava. He doesn't want the attraction towards him rather than Krishna. So he smears himself with ash. This is one understanding of Acharyas. He smears himself with ash and sits in crematorium where people avoid him. Which is pretty much like our Gaur Keshav Babaji Maharaj. He did not want people to come to him. So, but this same Shiva, he can grant whatever the devotee wants because he is Ashutosha. This chapter is all about that, how he became Ashutosha and got himself into trouble. Not that he gets into trouble. When a devotee gets into trouble, it is yet another job for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Like you got, all the superheroes in comics, they say, seems to be another job for so-and-so, Superman, Spider-Man. So like this, we are very clear. When the devotee is in trouble, it's another opportunity for the Lord to get involved. When the devotee is in some kind of problem that he can solve by himself, Krishna increases his gratitude towards him. Because he knows, my Lord, because by your mercy I've been able to do it by myself. When a devotee is not able to solve his problem, then Krishna increases his dependence on him. Either ways, it's fine. It's heads I win, tails you lose. Both ways. In Krishna consciousness, anyway, there is no loss or diminution. Swalpam apisa dharmasya. So, Lord Shiva is himself somebody who helps devotees who are in anxiety or in difficulty. What if he gets into difficulty? And that is what this chapter will elucidate. Before getting into the rest of it, we must remember a few points that, like in the Mukundamala Stotra, Lord Kulashekara prays, Majjan Mahaphalamitam Madukaita Bhare Matprartani Yamat Anugraha Esha Eva Vadbhritya bhritya paricharaka bhritya bhritya bhrityasya bhritya iti maam smaralokanata. Pretty similar to what Mahaprabhu prayed. Gopi Bhartur Padakamalayur, Dasa, 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 Dasa. Somewhere you have to stop, so Dasano Dasa. So that's the mood. And Lord Shiva is in that mode. So even if he bestows any kind of auspiciousness, as Shiva, who is Shiva Dham, who gives Shiva, who gives auspiciousness, if he gives that Shiva, it is commensurate with what the devotee wants. If the devotee approaches him for pure Krishna Bhakti, which he can grant also, he can grant that. Like the Prachetas were performing tapasya for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. Tapassaiva Paranjodi Bhagavantam Adhokshajam. To please the Adhokshaja, one is beyond his sense, they were performing austerity. Therefore, Lord Shiva gave them Rudra Gita, through which they could please the Supreme Lord who appeared. And he was pleased with them because they were united in their austerity. Now, if somebody does tapasya for the wrong reasons, all of them, as they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. That's what Krishna says. Manushya partha sarvasha. Even human beings are like that. All other living entities, even demigods are therefore like that. As we approach them, we get reciprocated with. So somebody goes to Lord Shiva, he can get sakapata kripa or nishkapata kripa. That's what they say normally. Kapata means which is deceitful, duplicitous. So you may give mercy that is deceitful in the sense that it may get someone what he wants but not what he needs. And this is very, very simple marketing. Marketing theory says that people should know about what is their need and what is their want. And advertising strategy is all about converting a want into a need. And then they push you, therefore, to say that follow your passion, follow your heart. So if sadhaka does that, if he follows, sometimes follow your heart means actually you're following your mind. And the mind is a non-devotee, as we all know. Mind left to itself is a non-devotee. It's only when Savaimana Krishna Padara Vinde it becomes a devotee. Till then is a non-devotee. So the mind will tell us things that will convert our wants into needs. I want this. I want this. I want this. I need this. It becomes like that. So what Lord Shiva does is to reward those people according to their propensities, their proclivities or their desires. If they desire material riches, he will give. The typical Indian prayer of Sukha Sampati Garave Kashtamite Tanka. Actually, the tan itself will met, not just kasht. So if we are spending too much effort on taking care of the temporary instrument of our karma, which is the body, then we may not be able to give appropriate time for us, which is Atmaha. Such a person is called an Atmaha. So such people approach Lord Shiva for material benedictions. But he is also an Acharya. We must remember, his Rudra Sampradaya comes from him. In fact, if you go back to the four Sampradayas, the most ancient Sampradaya is the Rudra Sampradaya practically. Adi Vishnu Swami came towards the end of Dwapara Yuga. So Rudra Sampradaya is practically the oldest. So Lord Shiva is the Acharya, the original Acharya of Rudra Sampradaya. So he can bestow pure devotion. But what do? We are giving up the diamond, going for the cut pieces of glass. Like in Hari Bhakti Sudodai, Dhruv Maharaj says, we go for the cut pieces of glass rather than for the diamond. So that gives us the sakapat kripa. We get the kripa, but it is sakapat, which is deceitful, duplicitous. It is just like Ishan Thakur, who went to Sanatan Goswami and said that, give me the greatest rich. He was told by Lord Shiva that Sanatan Goswami has this particular rich. He gave him a touchstone and he said, wait a minute, what's a touchstone doing in a pile of garbage? Then he went back and asked, what is it that you have better? So it is the same Lord Shiva we are talking about. So he told him it's not the touchstone that matters, but the real Nama Chintamani, that is also a touchstone. It's the real touchstone. So you should accept that and eschew this, give this up. That is what is required. So it is up to us really what we approach Lord Shiva for. In this chapter, as we go ahead, we'll see how Vrikasura approached Lord Shiva for a suicidal benediction. First, when Lord Shiva gave a benediction, it was suicidal for him. But when Vrikasura finally activated that benediction, it became suicidal for him. So anything other than Krishna consciousness, if we covet, it will be suicidal. Why? Because Nrdeha Madhyam Sulabam Sudurlabam Plabam Sukalpam Guru Karana Dharam Maya Nukulena Nabhasva Teritam Puman Bhavabdim Nataretsa Atmaha. We know that this is a very famous shloka. It comes in Ishopanishad also, this word Atmaha. Normally in India, when you say somebody did Atmahatya, it means he killed his body. But in one sense, the body is also considered as Atma. But really speaking, Atmaha means one who kills the soul. Srila Prabhupada repeatedly talks about this Atmaha word, where he says that Nirdeha Madhyam Sulabham, it is very rarely obtained, this human form of life, very rarely obtained. Sulabham, it's auspiciously obtained. Sudurlabham, still it is very, very rare. And Plavam Sukalpam, it's like a boat to traverse the material ocean. And who's the captain of the ship? Guru Karnadharam. Karnadharam means captain. He's a spiritual master, bona fide spiritual master. Maya Anukulena Nabhasva Teritam. The favorable winds are the sails of the boat. Or the sails of the boat, they are the Vedic scriptures. If we utilize all this and use this boat to traverse the material ocean, very good. If we don't, and we don't put in the effort for this, then Atmaha, Nataret Sa Atmaha. He is an Atmaha. He is a one who commits suicide. Suicide, meaning one who kills himself. So, Lord Shiva's approach to Krishna consciousness is very, very clear. If you want Krishna, I will give Krishna. If you don't want Krishna, I will give that also. I remember one of the earliest lessons I got in Krishna consciousness was in a lecture which I heard in Mira Road, where I connected. So there was a sannyasi Maharaj, I still don't remember whether he was from ISKCON or otherwise, long back. It's about 25, 26 years back. So he said that these words are common, even in English, you can understand. He said, if you ask for a car, the Lord will give you a car. If you ask for a ghar, God will give you ghar also. You will get car and ghar, but you will be in Karagar, which means it's a jail. Karagar means jail. So this is the choice, what we approach Lord Shiva for. Whether we want Karagar or to get out of the Karagar. You know the famous example of the prime minister or the king coming to the jail and is asking all the prisoners, what do you want? So somebody says, we want better drinking water facilities. Somebody says, I think the dal could be a little thicker. Somebody says, we should get paneer once a week. Somebody says that I will need a nice television so that I can watch India's cricket match. Finally, the intelligent man says, my dear Lord, you can do anything. Why don't you please give me freedom? And so he got the freedom. So it's up to us. The typical principle of fundraising is ask and you will get. We don't get sufficient funds or friends or anything for the Lord because we hesitate to ask. So the more we ask, the more seek and thou shalt find. That's what the Bible says. Knock and thou shalt be answered. Seek and thou shalt find. So quite similarly, Yayathamam prapatyante. If we approach Lord Shiva for something that is auspicious, the devotion of the Supreme Lord, we will get that also. Now, this is a slightly technical verse, the first one or two verses. I just thought, let me get a little technical. Let's see how much time we have. Yeah, enough time to get through to the point. So we know that the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna is Sarvakarana Karanam. From Krishna came Balarama. Balarama came Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna and Aniruddha. From this Prathama Chaturvyuha, the first Chaturvyuha, Sankarshana, appeared Narayana. From the Sriman Narayana appeared the second Chaturvyuha, which is Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, Aniruddha. And from the second Chaturvyuha, quadruple expansion, the Sankarshana of that Chaturvyuha appeared the three Purushavataras, which is Karanodakashayi, Garbhodakashayi and Shirodakashayi. So Karanodakashayi Vishnu is Mahavishnu. He is the super soul of the entire creation. There are three super souls. Three in Vishnu. One is the super soul of the entire creation. One is the super soul of each universe. And the third one is the super soul in each heart and on each atom. Andandarasta Paramanujayantarastam. And also Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hrideshe Arjuna Tishtati. That is Kshirodakashaya Vishnu. Now at the top is Mahavishnu, Karanodakashaya Vishnu. We know in Vedanta Sutra, the famous sutra that Saikshata, because Srila Prabhupada used to constantly quote this. Otherwise, we are not into Vedanta Sutra. We are all into the commentary of Vedanta Sutra, which is Srimad Bhagavatam. Saikshata, the Lord glanced, Mahavishnu glanced at material nature. Some acharyas say that this glance is actually what is Shambhu and the Lord Shiva. That's where it starts. And in the Vishnu Loka, in the Vaikuntha Lokas, Lord Shiva is original Vishnu Tattva is also there, is Sadashiva. There is a Sadashiva Loka there. In the material world, there is Goloka Namni Nijadhamni Talechatasya, on the cusp of the material world, between the cusp of the material world and the spiritual world is Nijadhamni Talechatasya, which means of the Lord's Dham, of these Lord's abode, there is the cusp or the transit area. There is Devi Dham and Maheshadham. You will see the famous Brahma Samhita painting in ISKCON. You can see that. So that is Maheshadham. That is in the material world, the Lord comes in. Lord Shiva is there in that form. So Karanodakashayi, what he does is that through his presence, he was before time. He is even before time. Like people have a material thinking, prompts people to ask a very stupid question. If God created everything, who created God? Like it's a most obnoxious question anybody can ask. So we sometimes joke with them. You think what? Godfather? Who created God? Godfather. If somebody is above God, then he is God. In that sense, yes, the demigods are considered by God by many people, but above them is the Supreme Lord. Which is why Srila Prabhupada used the phrase Supreme Personality of Godhead. And for our understanding, he called them demigods, so that we don't get confused. Everybody is God. Because Bhagavatam sometimes can confuse us also. Because suddenly somebody is called Bhagavan in it. And you don't know what Bhagavan means. Bhagavan also means great personality. So therefore, in Hindi we say Purna Purushottam Bhagavan. In English, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So just imagine, Supreme Personality of Godhead, the expansion of his expansion of his expansion of his expansion. That is Mahavishnu. And his expansion enters into each universe. And his expansion enters into our heart. And we have the cheek to say who is God. So look at our position. If we really want to feel who we are, our understanding, Kayami, we should just remember this question, that famous pastime of Srila Prabhupada and one senior Vaishnava in Vatsika Avenue. They said that here, I'm not taking names because it can go both ways. They said that he is very, very strict and very strong. He considers himself very, very important. So then Srila Prabhupada called him and asked him and said that how many galaxies are there? He said innumerable, Prabhupada. So out of many innumerable galaxies, ours is one, the Akasha Ganga, whatever, Milky Way. In that, there are multiple universes. Out of that, ours is one universe. Out of our universe, there are multiple systems. We have one solar system. In that solar system, there are 9 or 10 planets, depending on what scientists keep saying every 50 years. Sometimes they say 10th planet has been discovered. Suddenly they say, no, actually Pluto itself is not a planet. It's actually 9th planet. Whatever it is, we are assuming there are at least 9. So out of these 9 planets, ours is the Earth. In that Earth, there are 7 continents if you include Antarctica. In those continents, one continent is North America, of which United States of America has one country, of which California has one state, of which Los Angeles is a city, of which Watsik Avenue is a place, in which there is one Rukmini Dwarkadish temple, and here the temple commander is strutting around. So that's our position vis-a-vis the Supreme Lord. So how dare we even question the way the Lord creates or how it happens? Or whose position is what? We sometimes speak so belittlingly of the demigods, those demigods, the Sakam Bhaktas. What are you? Nishkam Bhakta. Even Nishkam Bhakta is not a great idea. Unless you are Ananya Bhakta, it's not good enough. Because Nishkama Karma means you are attached to the action, even if you're not attached to the results. You may be not attached to the result, but you're attached to the action, to the process. But an Ananya Bhakta is neither attached to the process or the results. And Lord Shiva is such a devotee. He's Ananya. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, and this is interesting, Lord Shiva's name is also Vishwanatha. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that he sports with the modes of nature because they requested him. And that's how it happens. It is not like he's under the sway of the mode of ignorance. Srila Prabhupada uses that to make us understand the position of the Supreme Lord vis-a-vis Jivas and other demigods. But Lord Shiva is not so easily swayed by the material energy. Srila Prabhupada gives a very famous example of how the Supreme Lord uses his pure devotees to execute something. Do you remember the famous example? One example Prabhupada gives. Okay, this is about the newly married daughter-in-law and the daughter. The mother-in-law does not instruct the newly married daughter-in-law. She instructs the daughter. This is the way we taught you. This is the way you've been taught. You don't know how to cook. Basically, she is chastising the daughter-in-law. Because, this is, I guess, pre-social media. So, social media now, they will have, immediately she will put, I have been chastised by my mother-in-law. Immediately going to, look at her being sarcastic, instructing me actually through her daughter. So, doesn't work that way. So, the Supreme Lord chooses his pure devotees to instruct them. Through them, he instructs the less fortunate conditioned souls. Because we are not in a position to understand Krishna's plan. And we will start blaming the Supreme Lord. In fact, one of the popular exercises in stress management is that if somebody is angry with God, we make them first write the difficult situation they're facing. And then against that write what could be Krishna's plan in this situation. Then we can come to know and actually see it. Because we are not in a position to understand Krishna's plan. And we may leave Krishna consciousness because we can't handle adversity. Like the mothers of Germany, Srila Prabhupada gives that example. That during the World War II, they prayed that their husbands, fathers, brothers and sons, they win the battle or the war. But Germany lost the war. So they lost their husbands, fathers, brothers, etc. So they became atheistic because God did not take care of their prayers. So Prabhupada uses a very famous phrase there, that Krishna is not your order supplier. So when we approach the Supreme Lord for less, Supreme Lord or his devotees for less noble things, so to say, we are given that also. So it's our choice. I remember one of my godbrothers telling me this interesting point. He said, if you're a teenager and you want to smoke, if you go ask your uncle, he may give you the money. Or your cousin, he may give you the money. He may even smoke with you. But you go ask your father, he'll slap you. So when we go to Krishna with desires that are not so noble, and you know this very famous prayer, Yasyaham anugranami harishyesh taddanam shanaihi tato dhanam tyajantyasya swajana dukkha dukkitam. Swajana dukkha dukkitam. Your family members get fried with you because you lost all your money. And they throw you out, like the case of the Avanti Brahmana. In the 11th canto it comes. He had everything, but he was a very big miser. He would not give anything to his family. So finally the government took something, the thieves took something, his family took something, and they threw him out on the street. What happens is that the Lord, out of causeless mercy on the Jiva, grants him only that which will get him closer to Krishna Bhakti. He will not give him anything less than pure devotion. If that is the most intrinsic desire of the devotee when he starts bhakti. That is why the phrase Anya Abhilashita. It is not Anya Abhilasha. Anya Abhilashita Shunyam. Why? Because Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, the Srila Jiva Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and above before that, Srila Rupa Goswami directly mentions in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that if a devotee is in danger for his life, he may pray that Lord save me, Krishna protect me. Like the Vrajavasis would, when they are in trouble, they'll say Krishna, and then it becomes Krishna's anxiety. They see Aghasura with his mouth wide open. Oh, it must be some demon. Let's go inside. Why? Because they know problem. They know Krishna will protect. So this is what is the situation of the devotee. He definitely shouts out to the Supreme Lord for his protection. But this is not his most intrinsic desire. His most intrinsic desire is to serve the Supreme Lord and please him. That is why it's called Abhilashita. So just because he calls out doesn't mean that this is his overwhelming desire to be just saved. The overwhelming desire is to please Krishna. So it is not desireless situation. So some acharyas say it's called desireness. It is not desire. So this much he is allowed. But his most intrinsic desire is to please his Supreme Lord. But if he has by some chance some less than noble desire, the Lord may initially seem like fulfilling it, but if the desire is material, he takes away that which is dear to him materially. And then what happens? He has no other option. There's nothing else left. Krishna can be possessive master. That is why Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur calls him transcendental autocrat. He's an autocrat, but he's a transcendental autocrat. Because he is very possessive. He's Swarat. Remember, in the very first shloka of Bhagavatam, he's Swarat. He knows everything. He's Abhijna. All cognizant. But he's also Swarat. He's completely autonomous. So he reserves the right to give us what we need instead of what we want. And in this case, like we discussed, the Lord looks at material nature through the influence of Mahavishnu, looks at material nature, injects the multiple jivas under the influence of time. They come in here with their own swabhavas and their karmas. They come into the material world with that. And then what happens is, what is formed is the pradhana, which is the composite material entity. It contains the undivisible or undivided modes of nature, etc. Then the Lord's glance on it agitates that pradhana over a period of, they say, 1,000 years. 1,000 years is not a small 1,000 years. I'm assuming this was a time when there was no time. So, nimeshardakhyo va vrajate nahi atrapi sameha. There is no influence of time in the spiritual world. So, then it becomes the Mahat Tattva. The Mahat Tattva, if it is in Sattva Guna, it is called Mahat Tattva. If it is in passion, it is called Sutra Tattva. Mahat Tattva and Sutra Tattva. And from this Mahat Tattva comes what is called the Ahankara. The Ahankara is predominantly in tamas, in ignorance. So under that, the three modes array themselves: goodness, passion, ignorance. And then creation happens of various levels. Then, I'm not getting more into detail. What we are focusing on predominantly is The fact that the mind and the 10 senses, sense devatas, they are created under the mode of goodness, because the sense devatas are transformation in the mode of goodness of ahankara. Then ahankara finally transforms through the mode of passion. The 10 senses are created, the 10 karmendriyas and 10 jnanendriyas, which are mentioned here, which is, we know that we don't want to get into what are the 5 working senses and 5 knowledge gathering senses. So these senses and the intelligence and the prana, these are formed. So there is mind, and the mind, interestingly, is a transformation of ahankara in the mode of goodness. And in the transformation of the ahankara in passion is intelligence or buddhi. So then there is prana and the 10 senses. What is left in 23? It is the 5 tanmatras, which is sight, sound, smell, touch, those, taste. The 5 tanmatras and the 5 elements, which is earth, fire, water, fire and ether. So they are formed, they are transformations of the ahankara in the mode of tamas. So this is how it is formed. Then there are other divisions. Initially there was sound. From sound came ether. From ether came air. From air came touch. From touch came form. From form came fire. From fire came water. From water came taste. From taste came the smell. And from the smell came earth. This is another set of transformation. All this is part of creation. This is orchestrated under the Purusha avatars. So while the 6 questions asked by the sages, the 3rd question was about how did the Supreme Lord create the world. And the 5th question was, the next question was actually about, he asked this question much before he asked the question of the creation. He asked about why did the Lord appear in the dynasty of in Vrishnis or Devaki's son. And then later on he asked, tell us about the Purusha avatars, tell us about the Leela avatars. But Shukadeva Goswami first answers the question of the Purusha avatars. Why? Because creation has to happen before Krishna has to appear. So the description that is given here is about how transformation of the modes happens. And in the previous verse, that is in the 87th chapter, 50th verse, there is a point which says that, just tell you that shloka, or maybe I'll take it from here, this is better. It says, Dhyayed ajashram harim, Dhyayed ajashram harim. This essentially means that the previous verse, that is 1087.1, it is mentioned that Parishit Maharaj is asking Shukadeva Goswami, you ended the previous chapter or you ended the previous prasanga with the fact that we should always meditate on Lord Hari. Dhyayet ajashram harim. Because Hari gives liberation. Mukunda, Mukti Pradata, Sarvesham Vishnu Revana Samshya. Hari gives liberation. Then why is it that people fear, that ordinary people fear that they will lose their wealth if they worship Hari and therefore they worship Hara? Not this Hara. This is Hara, which is Shiva. Why is it that they worship him? Which is very interesting, that Lord Shiva and Lord Krishna have viruddha natures. It's like milk and curd. That is why we say Kshiram Yatha Dadvikara Visheshoga. Because those who worship Lord Shiva, they become opulent and aristocratic while he looks like a beggar. Those who worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they become beggars. How does it work? It's quite strange. This whole context, how does it work? I remember once when I was in Maharashtra, this is 2002 or 3. This is after I was initiated. I had shifted from Mumbai to Delhi, then Delhi to this place called Nagpur, center of India, exact center of India, 0 mile. So I went in an ATM once to draw money. ISKCON is also ATM, anytime mukti. But there I went to draw money, anytime money. So suddenly I was standing with my family, and then all of a sudden this person come. He saw my tilak and all that. And just said, "You're from ISKCON?" I said, "Yes." So then he told my family, "Don't allow him to go to ISKCON. They will first take him, then they will take him away from you. They will first give him something, then they will take him away from you completely." So I was thinking, come on, what is this? ISKCON is not so bad. I still agree, ISKCON is not so bad. But some others still think that ISKCON is very bad. Because this is the nature of devotion service, that Krishna is a possessive master. He doesn't want us to have anything except pure devotion service. The word Rishi, incidentally, which comes in these purports, the word Rishi means one who is free of material contamination. So this movement is to make us sarvopadi vinirmuktam, free of all contamination. And that is why Prahlad Maharaj prays to not Narasimhadev, 7.10.7. This is called the Brahmachari Shloka. Please don't think this is for the Brahmacharis. Please tell me which of you is not Brahmachari. All of us are supposed to maintain Brahmacharya, whichever be the ashram. So this shloka is this. Yadi dasya, please repeat after me. Yadi dasyasi me kaman varam stvam varadarshabha kamanam hrit yasamroham bhavatasto vrnevaram. Oh, there you have. Kamanam hrit yasamroham bhavatastu vrnevaram. My dear Lord Narasimha, Varadarshaba. Varada means one who gives benedictions. Lord Shiva is also Varada. But Krishna is Varada Raja. Varadarshaba. He is the greatest among those who gives benedictions. What is the prayer of Prahlad Maharaj? He says, just go to the translation. He says, if you at all want to bestow desirable benediction upon me, then I pray please let us read this together. O my Lord, best of the givers of benediction, if you at all want to bestow a desirable benediction upon me, then I pray from your Lordship that within the core of my heart there be no material desires. It's a little scary to ask this prayer. Especially I can see Narasimhadev straight ahead as I am giving this prayer. And sometimes Narasimhadev has a way of performing surgery without anesthesia. But the point is, I asked this question to His Holiness Guru Prasad Maharaj, that we say, Lord, give us mercy, and we don't know how mercy comes, whether we can handle it. So Maharaj told me something interesting. He said, when you go to the doctor, you don't tell him that please perform surgery on you, but like this. So we go to a doctor, we should be ready for the medicine, whichever way it comes. So this is the point. So when those who go to Lord Shiva don't go with the right, they don't understand first of all what is the disease. So they don't go to him to diagnose the disease. If like Jivan Thakur went to him, not Ishan Thakur, Jivan Thakur went to him with the problem. He knew what was the problem. He said, listen, Lord Shiva, there must be something better. If he's giving off the touchstone so easily. So when we get a material benediction, frankly speaking, our antenna should go up. Something is going wrong. I'm getting suck up at Kripa. People are glorifying me. Something wrong. There's something wrong. So unless otherwise proved, in economics there is a usage in Latin, ceteris paribus. Other things remaining the same. This place is Dukhalayam. If suddenly we are feeling happy about something, then there's something wrong. Something going wrong. Unless it is connected to Krishna. If it's connected to Krishna, it is okay. There's something going wrong. So somebody glorifies you. Mahabharata says, if somebody glorifies you, he gets your good qualities. Somebody chastises you, you get his good qualities. So it's far better. The standard philosophy. Why do we get happiness? Is it because we have punya? And why do we become sad? Because we have papa. So if we become happy, it means your punya account is getting reduced. If you get papa, if you have papa, then at least you will, not papa, but if you have papa, like sin, then what happens is your sin account, you get misery or distress, your sin account is getting reduced. So which is better? The better option is to get some problem. So Lord Shiva is Shakti Yutaha. I'll just take 2 minutes to conclude. Lord Shiva is associated with the material energy, Shakti Yutaha. He is surrounded by the modes, basically. The 3 modes. Why? Because they actually, I said earlier, they pleaded with him to be accepted. This is what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says. So although Lord Shiva appears to be made of the 3 modes, and only Krishna is Gunatita, he is not just factually bound up by the modes like a jiva. Sattvam Rajas Tama iti guna prakriti sambhava. Nibadhananti mahabaho dehe deyanam avyam. Nibadhananti, we are bound. Not Lord Shiva. Shiva's relationship with the 3 modes is like we just discussed about ahankara in the mode of goodness, vaikarika. So Shiva embodies the ahankara in goodness, passion and ignorance. That is what it is. The ahankara that we talked about right at the beginning of creation, he embodies that ahankara in the mode of goodness, passion and ignorance. And Shukadeva Goswami says there are 16 transformations of the ahankara. What are they? First one is mind, the 10 senses, that is 11, and the 5 physical elements, these are 16. Then anybody wants to pursue enjoyment using any of these, such as like the predominant usage is of the karmendriya of the genitals, or tongue, or the mind. These are the ones which are prominently used for sense enjoyment in the material world. If you worship Shiva and then obtain the Gatim Swarupam, we get the essence of that. Vibhutinam sarvasam sampatinam. Whatever we want, we will get. Vibhutinam sarvasam ashnute gatim. We will get what we want to enjoy. That's what we were saying earlier. Any of these, it's up to us what we ask. So it is mentioned that since Lord Shiva embodies the modes of material, embodies matter in general, or material nature. Shakti Shaktimatam Abhedaha. When you say Shakti is material nature, it is also the Lord Shakti, but at the same time, Lord Shiva sports with that Shakti. That is why Shiva and Shakti are called Jagan Mata and Jagat Pita, because the jivas enter the material world through them. So material pleasures normally happen under the 3 modes. Therefore, if you worship Lord Shiva, who is the embodiment of this, of Ankara in these 3 modes, you will get anything you want. So it is not wrong that if you worship Lord Shiva, you will get everything you want. As Brakasura will find out. He will get what he wants. But he will not get what he needs. Imagine praying so much and the Lord is coming before Lord Shiva, pure devotee is coming. And stupid Vrakasura is going to ask, I want the strength to kill myself. Put my hand on any head and that's it. It should be the end of it. I thought this should have been the end of it. So put your hand on the head and that person should die. And poor Lord Shiva, because he's Ashutosha, that's the point. You see, it is Yedhama Prapatyante. If you go to him with a material desire, he will fulfill it. If you go to him with a spiritual desire, he will fulfill it. It's up to us. How much of Vrakasura is inside our heart? That is the question. Srila Prabhupada ki, do you want to say something?
My mind says I have to say something. So we're reading so many good instructions of things to do and not to do to advance in spiritual life, but still the mind rejects the idea, even though it makes logical sense and it's given by authoritative sources, but still the mind and senses seem to be rebellious of that. So how do we get beyond that stage?
Why are you testing a little boy? This is Prabhuji is clearly asking this question for our benefit.
No, for my benefit.
So Arjuna asked this question to Krishna, Ata khena prayuktoyam papam charati purusha, nischannapi varshnaya baladiva niyojita. Seemingly impelled by force, we perform activities against our desire. That is what the mind makes us do. And what is Krishna's famous answer? Kamesha krodesha rajoguna samudbhava mahashano mahapatma vidyanamiha varinam. At least when we come to the mode of goodness, we will be able to know the difference between right and wrong. Currently, my spiritual master Gopal Krishna Maharaj used to say this point all the time, that the intelligence should control the mind. But when the mind controls the intelligence, there is a problem. Because it is the nature of the intelligence to follow sometimes. That is because it is ahankara in the mode of passion. It will just follow. Intelligence will not apply its intelligence. But the mind, because it is transformation in the mode of goodness, it can actually direct. So if with this mind, the standard example given is that Srila Prabhupada says, if we study Shastra, your intellect will become sharp. Acharyas say, I remember one contemporary Acharya saying, you will get 20/20 vision. Perfect vision. What is happening is we are not looking at the problems with Shastra Chakshusha, the way Prabhupada wanted us to look at things through the Shastra. Because we don't sufficiently study Shastra, our mind is not pure. Our mind is not pure, it is not able to our intelligence is not pure. Because Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam. You gave the shloka yesterday when I heard from you, I remembered the shloka 10.10. You said this. So Krishna gives the intelligence. And very interestingly, the next shloka, Devi Shakti Mataji quoted this 2 years back here, Prabhupada Disappearance Day. The next shloka after Dadami Buddhi Yogam is what? It says that Tesham eva anukampartam aham ajnanajam tamaha nashayami atma bhavasto jnanadipena bhasvata. Krishna, out of compassion in the hearts of those people who are trying to know him better, in their heart, he lights the lamp of knowledge to dispel the ignorance. So when we take the shelter of devotees to study scripture, whether we like it or not, like this Olympic gymnast said that she got the gold because she practiced when her mind said yes and she practiced when her mind said no. So when we perform the principles of Vaidhi Bhakti in the association of people who can help us perform that Vaidhi Bhakti, especially Swadhyaya, it's very important to slow down the mind. The mind is acting so fast and so mischievously because it is being allowed to act recklessly. If you slow down the mind, or the process of thinking, feeling and willing is undertaken by the mind. If we cut it at the process of thinking is also a faculty of another element of thinking is discrimination and memory, which are faculties of the buddhi. So if we sharpen the buddhi by Shastra and Shastra Chakshusha, we are able to look at the same situation with a different eye. So the same buddhi will rectify the manas that, listen, this is not the way it's to be done. So that will bring us to sattva. And of course, the morning program. And I remember Guru Maharaj telling me once, this is very famous, inattentive chanting is the cause of all problems. Attentive chanting is a solution to all problems. So anybody would go to Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, he will just say, chant Hare Krishna. It's not like he will say, I think you should have a counselor, you should fill up your sadhana chart. No, just chant Hare Krishna, that's it. None of this comes priority. So one thing is about attentive chanting, the other thing is about studying scriptures with surrender. We should surrender to Srimad Bhagavatam. Just like you go to the altar, you go with Bhuta Shuddhi, Naham Viprona Chanarapadir Napi Vaishanash, you say all that and then you enter the altar. So like before studying Srimad Bhagavatam, we should understand that Bhagavatam is Krishna. And when we approach Srimad Bhagavatam with I don't have to tell you, Prabhuji gives a daily Bhagavatam recitations, and I'm also part of the WhatsApp group. Prabhuji sends me. So studying Srimad Bhagavatam, chanting attentively, and being accountable to someone who can be a friend or a senior. In your case, it'll have to be a friend. Who can actually, you can have Gukhya Makati Prichati. They will let us know whatever activities we are doing, whether it is under the sway of the mind or is it under the direction of the Paramatma and intelligence? So these are some of the things, but moot point is the mind gets disturbed and disturbs us because of it being in Rajas. So we should bring it to at least Sattva. Bringing it to Sattva is the core.